afraid I've got some bad news. I knew it. I love when he does that.
What they did was they perpetrated a match that they smelled the oil in the well. They were so markish for themselves, Moxley and Olivier. They thought they could do this. And Tony Khan, because this is right up his basement booking alley. On an E-Fed, I could have had an exploding match, and now I get to actually have it in person. That they overlooked what was going to happen that I informed them of 2 weeks beforehand. The same goddamn thing that happens every time they try to do shit like this in the wrestling business. It's not fucking Hollywood. It's not a movie. And it's going to be a popcorn fart. And that's what happened. And we played the tape last week. I'm not going to do it again and rub it in even further, but could I have? It was like I was in a time machine and described it perfectly. How am I describing the shit that happens in their company perfectly? And they spend the time and effort and the money to go through all this, and they don't know how it's going to turn out. Because they're fucking stupid, that's why. Because they smell the goddamn gas in the water well and think it's fucking oil. So now they're trying to blame the heels. Now they're trying to have the heels come out and get heat, which might work also if it was a free television show instead of a $50 pay-per-view that the company advertised was going to end with a ring blowing up. Fucking hell. And did you see somebody? What would they said? They ought to call him, instead of Twinkle Toes McFinger Bang, they ought to call him Twinkle Toes No Ring Bang. Because he can't blow up a ring, just his inflatable opponents.
Tony Khan really blew it with how he managed that right after the event. All he had to do was say, it wasn't what we had hoped for. We're going to do better. That's all he had to say. Instead, he made everything worse by immediately, and you can go back and listen to the thing where it's kind of like a forced laugh. Like, Kenny's cartoon with crayons didn't really, it's forced. You can hear it.
Well, and also, did you hear the backstage report that apparently Twinkle Toes was furious, was the quote, furious backstage? Can you imagine watching Harpo Fingerfuck lose his temper?
No.
God damn.
I've been watching this guy in the ring for a long time. I have no idea what he would look like.
Yeah, that's why I'd love to see it. Would he do the phone sex promo voice? Well, you guys, you can't even blow up a ring. You've destroyed my artistic career. God, I'm wondering, sometime they've got Bar Brady interviewing for him. Old Alex Marvez, they ought to bring spooky-voiced podcaster in to interview Omega, to where they could both sit there and breathe heavy at each other and maybe hold each other's noses so they talk. Anyway, here's what Tony Khan could have done besides the fact he's a fucking billionaire and this goddamn company isn't run like many wrestling promotions in the past on baling wire and glue from week to week. He could have just come out and said, you know what? We will never use those pyro people again, and everybody that bought this thing gets a $10 off coupon on the next pay-per-view, and people would have been fine.
People would have been really happy with that. That's the kind of response you want. But here's a show that's on TNT. It's named Dynamite, and they can blow up nothing.
They can't blow their nose. They can't. Poof. 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 Anyway, should we? God damn it. Dynamite.
TNT.
TNT. I'm TNT. I'm Dynamite.
Poof.
Poof.
I want to one day hear Eddie Kingston when he leaves there do an interview. What were you thinking when you were on top of Moxley covering him? And, he wasn't looking up, so he just had to go based on what he was hearing. Did he know? Did he know just the level of
I guarantee you he didn't know. That's why if he'd have known, he would have looked up and had the shocked face like, oh shit, I'm okay. He would have, to save himself, he would have done that. But no. He put his head down because he thought the goddamn thing's going to blow up. They're going to be fucking covered in napalm.
Welcome to the Hoots Podcast. This is a podcast about life, which just happens to be centered and focused around the world of professional wrestling. We tackle the topics of the week, both inside and outside of the squared circle, while also focusing on the issues that are plaguing the world today. Whether it's wrestling, sports, life, or anything in general, we've got you covered right here on the Hoots Podcast. And now, here's your host, Josh Lopez.
And if that doesn't work, then by God, me and my friend Mark, we're going to stop watching. That's right.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 249 of the Hoots Podcast. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week so far. It's just truly the nefarious brother Adam, a.k.a. Joshie Lopez, ready to rock and roll here on this Thursday. It's March 18th, 2021. I just got off the heels of transcribing the latest New Japan Cup show. The Final Four set, you know, everybody's getting excited for the March Madness stuff going on right now, but also don't forget you got the New Japan Cup going on. So the Final Four in that tournament is Evil, Sonata, no, my bad. It's Evil against Shingo, and the big upset today, David Finlay defeated Jay White in a crazy match, and David Finlay will be fighting Will Ospreay in the semifinals. So the New Japan Cup will be coming to an end this weekend, and I'll give a more detailed recap of it on next week's podcast. But yeah, I'm just really excited. You know, it's really cool that we're celebrating episode 250 next week. WrestleMania season's here. Fastlane's on Sunday, so we got a lot to talk about. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, thank you. Thank you for being a good brother, a good sister, for taking time out of your schedule to hang out with me. This podcast is very different and from your standard pro wrestling podcast, and I'm very proud of that to a certain extent because this podcast is just genuine and it's coming from a genuine point of view. I know that me and you will probably disagree on a common belief or narrative regarding professional wrestling, and I'm okay with that because I know who I am and I can stand behind what I say. I don't have anybody write my words for me. I don't say stuff just to garner clicks or retweets and stuff like that. That's just not what I do here. That's not what I pride myself on. I'm very content with who I am and the fact that I don't have to impress anybody. I know my worth, and also I can speak for myself, which is a trait that not a lot of people possess in this era that we're living in right now, especially in wrestling. So, you know, I'm open to dialogue, but here in the Who's Podcast, we want you to enjoy professional wrestling. There are times we'll critique it and just go off on what we don't like, sure, but that's not the emphasis of what the show is. I want you guys to feel like I'm sitting next to you. We're talking about professional wrestling. It's not a Sports Center style show. This is nothing that you've never listened to before. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity. We want to make this podcast a positive mental escape for you as you guys are dealing with the back stretch of this pandemic that we're dealing with. And if we can make your day better, if we can make your experience watching and listening to professional wrestling better, then we're doing our job. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, for continuing to support this show, and the fact that at the WrestleMania, we'll be celebrating our 5th anniversary of the show. So, again, thank you guys. We got a lot to get into and not a lot of time to waste. So, just last bit of plugs. You can follow me on social media if you like. I'm at Twitter at Josh Lopez Media. You can hit me up on Instagram at Joshie Lopez 94 or at Josh Lopez Music if you want to see me do my guitar cover, so go check that out. I got a couple cool new catching up episodes that I'm going to be recording this weekend with the Good Brothers to honor episode 250. Two of the Good Brothers who really play a big pivotal role to the show and its success. Sam Piopo, my buddy from broadcasting school, the host of the Second City Sam's Hot Take Show, and the OG good brother of all good brothers, Patrick Fritz. He's gonna come on and do a show with me on Saturday. I'm recording a show with Sam tomorrow. I'm recording this on Thursday, so you'll see this on a Friday. But just keep tuning on to the YouTube channel, and those episodes of Catching Up With will be on the on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/the Hoots Podcast. If you want to just listen to the audio versions of the show, you could just check out the Hoots Podcast on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you get podcasts from. Make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com, and that's pretty much it. So it's time to get to the Good Brothers Q&A session. We got a big catalog of questions this week, and I just want to first and foremost thank everybody that took time to send questions this week. 28 questions are on the docket this week, so it's going to change up a little bit of our format this week. So it's going to take a while, but I'm really excited. It should be a good show. Again, when it comes to the Q&A session, that's just what it is. It's just shooting the shit. So basically, all you have to do, ask me a question. It could be about mental health. It could be about depression. It could be about relationships. It could be about wrestling. Hell, we can talk about whatever's on the news too. I really don't care. We can talk about whatever. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do right now with the Q&A session. Shout out to Sarah. Check out the video. Long time no see. How true is it that McMahon sold WWE Network? It's not fully true because obviously he still has ownership of the company, but part of the licensing ship of the network is owned by Peacock, which is also owned by NBC Universal. So WWE and NBC have a working relationship for over 30, 40 years. And they're taking the network as a standalone platform, but adding it onto the NBC streaming app now. So that's basically what they're doing. WWE still has all the rights to the network and what they want to air on it and stuff like that. But this whole new deal with Peacock is pretty cool. And it's cheaper than what you had to pay originally for the network. So I think it's a really good deal for everybody. So just so everybody's not confused, McMahon still owns the WWE Network. It's just a working relationship that they have at NBC right now. All right, questions. We're going to start off with the good brother Chris Zaletta at XTeam Zaletta24X on Twitter. He sends me a question. He says, which Chicago team of yours wins the title first, the Bears or the Bulls? Well, sure as hell ain't going to be my Chicago Bears, so I guess if you're watching the if you're watching the YouTube channel, I got the Bulls hat on right now, so that gives you the indication of where my answer is going with this. The Bears are being treated as a laughing stock. They are a laughing stock. I'll get into this later on this week with Sam, but I don't know what the fuck they're doing. But I'm a big fan of Billy Donovan. I've always been a big Bulls fan. Hopefully they can turn the corner, but I think the Bulls will probably get a title first before the Bears would. So that'd be my answer for that question. That's all good, Sarah. I hope you're feeling better. Thoughts on NFL free agencies so far? I'm also attaching Patrick Fritz's question to this because he asked me the same one. My thoughts on free agencies, I kind of miss the old format where you would have we'd find out where like the free agents would visit first before they made their decision. Now it's so like kind of mad where you already know who's going where before the league year starts. I don't like that, to be honest with you. Is it more beneficial to social media and chatter and stuff like that? Sure. But I like the anticipation and trying to figure out where people are going to go. Like, it's Thursday, and like there's already been like 50 different moves for different teams in the NFL. So I'm a big NFL fan, obviously, so I've been catching up with everything that's been going on. Looks like Arizona's going for it this year, and good on them. We'll see if Kyler Murray's the real deal and if Cliff Kingsbury is going to be on the hot seat or not. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out. Does the NFL need a developmental league? NFL Europe back in the day was such a help. Could it help in this modern day? Well, I always hear Tom Thayer talk about this on the Bears podcast where you had these secondary leagues that would be like a developmental system, like the XFL or the USFL. So, yeah, I think so. NFL is no different from baseball to wrestling to anything like that. If you have a developmental system where you're having these young athletes develop their skills in a bigger platform, it's not the biggest platform, but you need the best thing in any form of life is just doing it and have the platform to practice your art, your craft, your skills. That's the most important thing. When you get that opportunity to be in the NFL or in the NBA or whatever the situation is, you got to make the best of it. So, yeah, I think a developmental league for the NFL would be a good idea. Next question. Your top 5 WrestleManias. I think I know 3 of them. I want to see which one you guess which one they are. Shit, that's a great question. Number 5 for me is WrestleMania 20. I always say my favorite world title match from WrestleMania when I was a kid was Chris Benoit against Triple H and Shawn Michaels. It was one of the best world title matches I've ever seen in my life. Remember seeing Undertaker make his return as a dead man on that show. That also stand out to me. And that was also John Cena's WrestleMania debut as well. So that one is number 5 for me. Number 4 is WrestleMania 31. Because I got to be there seeing Seth Rollins cash in his money to bank contract. I love the stuff with Sting and Triple H. I know a lot of people get on soapboxes. Oh my God, I can't believe Sting didn't beat Triple H. I thought they told the story really well, and the energy inside the building when NWO was wrong with DX, I thought that was really cool. So it didn't really bother me. So being out there, that was the first WrestleMania I got to cover as part of the media. So that was just a really fun trip that I won't forget. I still got the press pass for it, by the way. I got to pull it up sometime. But number 3, and I'll go with WrestleMania 19. This is another great one from Seattle. Number 2 would be WrestleMania 22. That was the first WrestleMania I got to attend in person. It's just I love that show a lot, and I would say that John Cena and Triple H were my favorite main event of WrestleMania history. So that one really stands out the most to me. And then number 1, obviously, got to be WrestleMania 17. So those would be my top 5 WrestleManias. For those who are watching, do you have a particular favorite WrestleMania match or WrestleMania show in general that stands out the most to you? I'd love to see your responses. His name is John Cena. By the way, I really don't consume as much stuff on YouTube unless it's music videos, so I can clear my head. We all have those moments where we're just clearing our head before we go to sleep, type of thing. But you'll find me, little things some of you know about me. If I need something to pick me up, if I'm in a bad mood or I'm just having a headache, if I need a good laugh. If you haven't seen the John Cena prank call segment with the radio skit with the girl, we're not buying no fucking wrestling anymore. It's one of the best prank calls I've ever seen in my entire life. It's great. His name is John Cena. Oh my God. Good times. All right. What do you miss from the early 2000s in wrestling? Wrestling fans not acting like they're in the boardroom. actually enjoyed the wrestling in the ring, you know. Hell, even before the pandemic, I just noticed going to these wrestling shows, people would be like sitting on their hands and just talking about booking. I'm like, you're at a show, you're really good at dissect booking while you're at a show that you paid harder money to go to? Like, what the fuck? Like, that's the reason why when you go to Broadway shows, they want you to shut the fuck up. That's the reason. Like, you paid money, you wanted to go there. Even if you don't like it, like, try to enjoy the experience. I just don't understand today's wrestling audience. I really don't. It's like snarky, entitled, just like morose motherfuckers. Like, if you're that upset with pro wrestling, yet you're buying tickets and paying money out of your own pocket to go to these shows, yet you're gonna be that miserable guy in the back of the arena. Oh my god, I can't believe this person lost to so and so. Man. Just stay home. Like, come on, man. Next question. Is AEW's women's division starting to turn the corner in your eyes? I think it's turning the corner, but also there's a caveat of how long and what the emphasis is going to be in the women's division. You know, that's the thing. We'll have to see what happens. Well, Sarah, I know why I like you now. Great minds think alike. John Cena and Batista and John Cena and Triple H. Yep, those are classics. Cena and Batista was from 26. I remember that. And John Cena and Triple H was here at the... I call it the Rosa Horizon, but it's the All-State Arena. Next question. Is Raquel Gonzalez the one to beat Io Shirai? I think so. She definitely deserves it. I think Io has had a very extensive title reign. I think she's a very good wrestler. I don't think she's a performer that needed, I don't know how long she's been a champion, like 9 or 10 months at this point. So I'm not really sure. But I think Raquel probably be the one to beat her. If not, make it Taya Valkyrie, damn it. Is Tess one of the best big men we saw come through wrestling? I think Tess is one of the most underrated big men that we saw come through wrestling. It's a damn shame he died as young as he did. I liked his work. You know, things didn't work out in his first run in the late 90s, but whatever went through that situation, I always enjoyed his work. And it's just a shame that he died so young, you know. Has Sasha Banks lost some steam heading into WrestleMania? No, has Sasha/Bianca lost some steam heading into Mania? I think it's up to people's perspective. I mean, for me, the fact that Reginald's being such an emphasis in between these two because we decided that we needed a freaking Fastlane pay-per-view before WrestleMania is kind of the reason why people think it is losing steam. Like, I'm not going to waste time against this argument, debate about how many pay-per-views there should be before WrestleMania, but obviously a lot of this stuff with Reginald and Sasha and Bianca going after the tag titles and stuff like that, all of it is, at the end of the day, guys, is window dressing. So, like, the end goal is Sasha and Bianca. That's the draw. Now, if you're going to do 9 weeks of promos of just them two talking shit to each other, how long does it take for you to start getting bored and you just wait for them to beat the crap out of each other, you know? So it's one thing to be like, oh my god, I can't believe they're fighting for the tag titles, and then, oh, if it's just them talking to each other for 2 straight months, are you tired of it? Are you bored? Like, we also have to balance the fact that we live in an ADD society when it comes to professional wrestling and just in general entertainment. So, like, I don't think they're losing steam, but do I necessarily think that Sasha Bianca has to be the last match on either night of WrestleMania? I do not. Which company would you like to see take another chance with Enzo and Cass? This is the last question for Chris. That's a great question. You know what, Chris? I'll go with Impact. I think Enzo and Cass would be a good fit with that company. Impact has a very unique, different style tag team division where they have different characters. It's not much on the high quality of wrestling, but I think Enzo and Cass would be a good addition for that company. So I like that one. All right. We're going to go to the next questions here from Sam Piopo at Second City Sam. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be on here tomorrow, like around 3 o'clock, and do a catching up session with Sam here on Facebook. So be on the lookout for that, guys. He says, do you think the Bears go into camp with Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, or do they still make another splash, draft, trade, etc.? I think right now, where we are with the Bears, I think it's more likely that they would make a trade up for the draft than go after Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson, which is really a shame. But I always been saying it since the season ended. It didn't matter who was going to be the starting quarterback for the Bears this offseason or this upcoming season, because the biggest problem with the team is the head coach. Like, that's the biggest issue with the team. So, I really don't know what they're going to do. It's like they're in a lose-lose situation right now. Like, it doesn't matter what they do. People are going to shit on it. And justifiably so. They don't know what they're doing up there. So, describe to the audience how much of a pain in the ass it is to be a Bears fan. I'm going to be turning 27 in May. And I've seen the Bears play one Super Bowl. They lost. I had a fever that night, which was rough. That was a night I want to forget. But it's just frustrating. And I think a lot of it stems from the coverage of the team, the perception of the team, also the expectations that come with the team. It's like, I don't know what people want with the Bears sometimes, but also when it comes to the team, they make decisions that just make you scratch your head after a while. And it's like, I want to enjoy the team for what it is. I watch every game. I watch all the press conferences throughout the week. I listen to stuff with Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer on the score. But it's like a rudderless ship out there with the Bears, you know? Soldier Field's a freaking dump. It looks like a damn planet ship. It's like, what can you held your head on when it comes to being a Bears fan? That's where my frustration is with the team right now. Because, like, you know, a lot of people like to paint out like Mr. Trubisky was the worst quarterback that ever played. And I think that's freaking stupid. Regardless of how these last two playoff appearances went, like, there's more on the surface than one particular person being the root of all issues. It's just an overall organizational failure of where this franchise is at. It's the same rudderless ship year after year, doing the same things and expecting different outcomes, and nothing changes. So it sucks. Like, you know, getting embarrassed on national TV all the time by the Packers. You know, it's frustrating. I don't even have the words for it. Like, I want to go off, but I think I'll do it tomorrow when we talk about it with you, Sam. Why do you think WWE fans turn on baby faces so quickly? Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, etc. I'm glad you asked that, Sam, because I'm still trying to figure out the answer to that question myself. And it goes back to the age-old status quo. This year's Flavor of the Month, this time next year, will be the most hated or performer that people hate watch or turn their back on. It's like a year in and year out cycle of, oh, we want this guy to main event WrestleMania, and then the following year when he goes trying to get his title back, with fans coming back to the audience, oh, he doesn't deserve to be in the main event. Oh my God, Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre would have a horrible match at WrestleMania. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, regardless of what you think about Drew McIntyre's character, let's look at baby faces as a whole. The concept of it in 2021. I would never say that baby faces are outdated, but nobody knows of what they want out of a baby face in this era of wrestling. And nobody ever talks about that. We can always go on soapboxes about, oh, we need more heels, we need more this, we need more of that. But nobody ever seems to come up with a solution to how make baby faces more appealing in today's culture. You look at Drew McIntyre. you mentioned this. I always have to reference this because I believe in context. He mentioned it on after the bell of Corey Graves that he was having a conversation with his wife about how he's going to handle this character during this pandemic with no crowds, right? With no fans being in the building. And he said, look, I'm just going to be myself. You know, I'm a nice guy, but also I'm like sarcastic and quirky, and I make dumb jokes sometimes here and there. Like, you're seeing the real Drew Galloway, right? We're always saying we want to see the real performers on these shows. So you're seeing the Drew McIntyre. So basically, for those who are saying that Drew McIntyre is this and that, and they're just hating on him now, you're basically just saying you don't like the dude. So if that's the case, that's your prerogative. I'm not going to tell you how to feel about a performer, but my issue is this year in and year out fickleness that we go through as a fan base where, oh, Seth Rollins has to be the one to dethrone Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. He does it, a year later, people don't want him on the freaking card. Now this year, they want Drew McIntyre to beat down Brock Lesnar. Oh, Drew McIntyre wins the WWE title, has the most consistent title quality matches on pay-per-view, had underrated rivalry of the year with Randy Orton, yet he's not worthy. He's not worth the opportunity to be in the main event of WrestleMania for Raw. Like, really? A guy who held the company over his head during the pandemic? Like, I just don't understand where you guys are coming from with a lot of this stuff. And I think I have a little hint of where that stems from, but you know, like, I'm not into stan culture. I don't need to tear down another performer to build up another one. You know, I just don't believe in that. Like, just because Roman Reigns is on SmackDown and Drew McIntyre is on Raw doesn't mean I have to diminish everything Drew McIntyre does because, I'm afraid that, the attention and the push and the spotlight is going to be more on Drew and Roman Reigns. Like, come on. Like, it's good that Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns are in different positions as their characters. Roman's doing what he needs to do on SmackDown. Drew's being himself on Raw. I don't see where the problem is with that. Like, okay, he's not cutting babyface promos like CM Punk or whatever. Okay, who gives a fuck? But watch his matches with Sheamus recently. Watch the match he had with Roman at Survivor Series. Like, you're telling me that this dude does not belong in the ring with Lashley at WrestleMania? He doesn't deserve the opportunity to close out a show in front of friends, close the show in front of fans like he was supposed to last year? Like, come on. I just don't, I can't stand this stan culture where, oh my God, this person has to be in the main event of all shows. If not, I'm going to trash every person along the way that's associated with them. It's the same thing with the people that trash Charlotte Flair all the time. It's like, okay, some people, believe it or not, folks, some people don't think Sasha Banks is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I have obviously opened my eyes to her skill and how good she is and stuff like that and how much she's a draw. But even then, I'm still not going to run away from saying that I don't think she's the top female wrestler in the world right now. And I can say that because I speak for myself. Like, I'm not opposed or afraid of criticism for my opinions. Not one thing is the gospel in professional wrestling. So, like, I don't know. It's frustrating. Like, I'm going in circles here, but, like, I don't know. Why do you think WWE... no, I already answered that question. How would you bring Becky Lynch back into the fold after WrestleMania? I don't even know if she's going to be on the show, to be honest with you. We'll have to see. Like, obviously, you could try to get her back into the feud with Shayna Baszler, but it just depends on what brand you want her to be on. I think Becky would be a good fit on SmackDown, so that's how I would bring her back. Is there anything you like / respect about Tony Khan? I don't like to make things personal with stuff with AEW because I don't know the people that work there. I'm not like that podcast is just going to take personal shots at people. Like, I'll trash your character. I don't like AEW. I don't like their shows one bit, but I'm not going to make it personal. with AEW. I respect Tony Khan's passion for the wrestling business. I like the fact that he's a super fan and stuff like that. I respect what he did for Brody Lee's family after his passing, and the tribute show. I said it was my favorite TV show of the year. It was very emotional, and Tony deserves a lot of applause for that. And he deserves a lot of applause for giving talents the opportunity to make a name for themselves on these AEW dark shows. But also at the same time, like, I don't like the two-faced nature of Tony Khan. I respect the person, but the person in the wrestling business, I don't respect. And him going back on his word and all these promises about giving talents health insurance. We're not going to talk about other stuff going on with our wrestling companies. We're going to focus on our own. Yeah, that worked out really well. You know, like, there's a lot of stuff with Tony Khan saying, "Oh, I'm not going to be a character yet. He's the forbidden door. He's the forbidden door. He's doing paid ads on Impact every week." Like, there's a reason why I call him Money Mark Jones. So, like I respect him as a person and his passion for the wrestling business, but I don't respect what he's done in the wrestling business so far. So that's where I'm at with Tony Khan. Your stance in the IWC criticizes the fact that Brody Lee Jr. is so involved with AEW. It's a little overkill, to be honest with you. But it's not something that I'm losing sleep over. You know, the kid is a kid. I'm not going to pass aspersions on Brody Lee Jr. for the fact that he wants to be at these shows and stuff like that. I pay no mind. Like, for stuff that I have no control over or stuff that it really doesn't affect me at the end of the day, I just kind of toss it aside, like, subconsciously. So, you know, I wouldn't say, for those that are criticizing the involvement with him, don't criticize him. Criticize the promotion. Like, leave the kid out of it. Like, I don't think that's cool. The fact that his mom had to make a statement about it on her Instagram story, I thought was ridiculous. Like, you guys know that I hold nothing back with regards to my feelings with AEW and how they handle shows. But, like, for me, when it comes to the stuff with Brody Lee Jr., like, it is what it is. Like, when he comes on commentary with Taz and Excalibur, I just mute it. But I'm a different type of person where if there's something that's bothering me or I don't want it to affect my energy or my mood, I just find ways to go about it to ignore it in a different light, you know? That's just how I handle it. So, shout out to the good brother Sam Pio for checking out the show, my man. Hope you're doing well. Next question. 3 wrestlers you would think would work well in today's NXT, past and present. Oh, man. That's a good one. It'd be funny if Loomis was a tag team with Heidenreich, right? I don't know. Maybe that's a bad idea. Don't listen to me, Bruce Pritchard, whoever's running NXT. That's a great question. When you picture how it would be for Owen Hart being NXT, like getting his start, not like before he passed away, like a young Owen Hart getting his start in NXT, I think that would have been cool. I would love to see Jay White or Will Ospreay in NXT. I think that'd be really cool as well. Those would probably be the other two that would stand out the most to me for that. Take a swig of water, pal. All right, we're going to go to the next question from the good brother Anthony DeStefano at Game Event. Make sure you go check out GOW. It's the best E-Fed out there, pal. He said, what signing would change the AEW's women's division and help them become a main focus? That's a great question. Like, the issue with that, Ant, is the fact of what the emphasis is going to be on AEW. I appreciate the fact that they put a spotlight on Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, and I'll get to this later on in the AEW segment. But one main event just doesn't constitute, now we're putting an emphasis on the women. Yet, you're going to have Ty Conti and Nyla Rose buried in the mid card next week. I have to see some consistency before I say, this is going to be part of the main focus. Do I think there's a side that can take it over the top? Sure. I think that would be Tessa Blanchard. That would be my pick. But the thing again with AEW is, what is the amount of emphasis that you're going to put on your women's division? And we'll just have to see how that goes. Next question for the Good Brother for the TBD Wrestling Podcast. Matt, he says, let's put the Good Brother in charge. Let's say you get the keys to AEW. How are you building the show? Who are you focusing on? What's your identity and how will you make the promotion different? Well, first off, I'm not having anybody currently signed to the announce team. That's the first thing I'm getting rid of right there. I would have, if I could keep Taz and have him and Mike today. I mean, that's how I would go about it. I've totally changed the format of the show. I appreciate the fact that they want to be more wrestling heavy, but I'm sorry. I just always get crack out of it when Excalibur's like, "Oh, this match goes into picture-in-picture. This match goes through picture-in-picture. We'll have it for you." Like, what matches in AEW never go into picture-in-picture? Like, come on. All these matches are like 15 or 20 minutes long each. Like, so I would get rid of that. My identity is more catered towards what Lucha Underground was. Now, I'm not going to be killing people and doing stuff like that, but the way they formatted their show, the way they shot their show from a production standpoint, I thought was just really top notch. That was one of the reasons why I loved that show so much. And I think, like, my emphasis in the show would be on wrestling, but I'm not going to come on here and insult people's intelligence and post these win-loss records and the rankings and stuff like that. I would not do that either. Who I would focus on would be Darby Allin, obviously. Emphasis on Ricky Starks, Anna Jay, Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa, Serena Deeb, Brian Cage. Like, we actually get these guys that they brought in right. Lance Archer. Obviously, you got to deal with the parameters of the elite in there, so I got to figure out a way where they don't come off as phony and fake tough guys. Like, every time Matt Jackson tries to cut a tough guy promo, I just start laughing my ass off. You know, for me, I would make a lot of different changes, and I think for me, I would actually change the name from AEW to something different because I just think it's kind of silly for a startup company to call themselves All Elite, yet they don't want the media that covers their show to have elite standards towards them. I just don't understand that line of thinking. But hey, I'm just me, you know. That's my thing. That's a great question, though, man. I like that. King, next question's from King HR. He says, if Mike Ditka, Michael Jordan, Barack Obama all walked into the same Chicago pizza spot and there was only one table left of the three, who gets the table? It's not even close. It's Michael Jordan. I mean, I gotta say, man, there's like three people I look up to the most as far as like motivation and idols, like from the celebrity realm. Number one is Big E. Number two is Michael Jordan. And number three is CM Punk. Two of them are Chicago guys, and then another guy is just a guy that I patterned my life after, you know. For me, I'd go with Michael Jordan in a heartbeat. Just to pick his brain on what it means to be great and having that relentless attitude of proving people wrong is something that I connect with, and I share a lot of his sentiments with that. I love The Last Dance. You know, nobody's perfect in this world, but everything that Michael Jordan said about himself and how he went about his business is how I look at how I go about my business in my realm. And yeah, I would go with Michael Jordan in a heartbeat. Next question. What is it about Charlotte Flair in terms of in-ring work that you see all-time greatest? Describe in detail. I would not say that Charlotte's the greatest in-ring female wrestler of all time. I think she's the best right now as far as the current landscape is concerned, only due to the fact with the match layouts. it looks and it resembles of a true pure professional wrestling match that you would see from the AWA or the NWA. Just a lot of her mannerisms that she's had passed down to her from her father, I can see in her match layouts. I really enjoy just watching the purity and how good she is of an athlete. There's a big debate on who's the best pure athlete in the women's division for WWE, and I'll give Bianca Belair her props. She's definitely up there. Rhea Ripley, Sasha. There's a lot of them. And then you have Charlotte, and I just think you look at Charlotte Flair, and I just look at her work inside the ring, and she's on another level. Like, how people were looking at Randy Orton when he first started, and you're like, yeah, he's good. He has a family lineage, but I don't know how I feel about him as a character. Like, I see a lot of the similarities with Charlotte and how she's being treated with a current day wrestling fans. So, like, that gets lost in the shuffle when you miss out on how good she is in the ring. Like, I mentioned this before in the past. Every time you see a match with Charlotte Flair, she's raising up the level of her opponents, and that's why she stands out to me. I would not say she's the all-time greatest number one. Is she the best in my opinion for the stuff that I watch every single week? Yes, but that's my opinion. Brandon, who wins the QB competition for the Bears if it does end up being Foles versus Dalton? And who would you have start for Chicago? Oh, God. Can we bring Caleb Haney back? Like, oh, my God. I'd probably go with Foles. Why not? Like, it's not going to make a difference, to be honest with you. I mean, both guys have experience with the system, but it's like, it's just a complete rudderless ship. Like, it doesn't matter what Nick Foles or Andy Dalton or whoever they draft is going to be. It's the same old crap year after year. It's ridiculous. Get the damn parking lot. Let's head to the parking lot. Let's bring the bulldozers here. Turn the place into a damn yacht or something. I don't know. The Bears suck. Next question from Jeff, DFDC, my man. Thank you so much for reaching out. He says, what effects does being a pro wrestling fan have on mental health? That's a great question. I think it'd be very different for a pro wrestling fan and somebody who's a pro wrestling content creator. I know mental health's been a big issue with those who make podcasts like this or video shows. I've dealt with it in the past. I just think that it's just with the amount of time that goes into whatever you're creating as a wrestling content creator or as a wrestling fan in general, when you're seeing constant toxicity and just silly debates and stuff that's not rooted in any content or nuance or any substance of fact, and a lot of people try to act like they're holier than thou and their opinions are the gospel and they act like they're shit those things. That's the issue that we run to as wrestling fans, and it can be exhausting after a while. I don't think it's anything that's super worrisome from a mental health point of view, unless there's people being bullied over their wrestling opinions, because I think that'd be freaking ridiculous if anybody does do that. I know that people disagree with my stance on AEW, and I'm fine with that. And it goes back to what I said in the beginning. Like, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not doing it to make people feel bad about AEW or anything like that. Like, the same people that go on soapboxes about WWE and all their shows all the time, like, doesn't affect my mental health. Like, those people that just go and, like, go on soliloquies and stuff like that, it's like, they're doing it for likes and retweets. Like, I have an opinion on AEW because I spend the time covering it, and I don't find enjoyment out of it. It's just work for me. So it's a little different, a bit of experience for where I'm standing at. But that's a good question, though. Last batch question comes from Nate the Great. You can follow him on Twitter at Psycho Nigiri. He says, "What's your favorite match of all time?" John Cena versus CM Punk at John Cena versus CM Punk at Money in the Bank 2011 is my all-time favorite match. How do you hope to grow professionally this year? Well, I think I am to a certain extent, just with the amount and volume of shows that I'm covering, Nate. I would love to see where this podcast grows as far as numbers are concerned. Like, we're almost close to getting like 300,000 downloads on Anchor, which is really cool. But professionally, like, I don't know when I'm going to have my next job interview for a radio station. So it's something that I think about. It's always about growing and getting better every week for me. That's how I approach it. I take it one day and 1 week at a time. Like, I can't really project too far out ahead because tomorrow's not guaranteed. So, like, I just want to just have steady growth and continuing what I'm doing. And a lot of it is personal as well, because even though I have moved to my apartment, I'm also planning to move to Florida soon. So it's like I'm balancing that out. I have to look at radio stations in Orlando, that essential part of Florida area. Like, I have to be on the lookout for that. And I just have to go about it the right way and do my research and see where that goes. So that's a good question, though. Where would you like to see Andrade go next if he does get released? New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's a quick answer for you, good brother. Got two more here. He says, how can the NWA grow? I think for me, the NWA can grow by just being themselves. They were building up momentum with their power shows, and they were having a good fan base, and everybody was getting excited for the Crockett Cup, and then the pandemic hit. So I think for them, they have to stay the course. It sucks that a lot of their big stars that they did have for their roster went on to AEW, but I think NWA can persevere from that, and I just say keep the same course, continue on with their identity for this new era of the NWA, and just focus on what they're doing, and it's not try to be something that they're not. Last question, he says, just one that I kind of struggle with. How do you cope with loneliness? Man, this is going to be a rough one to answer. You know what, Nate? Like, for me, when I look at loneliness and depression and stuff like that, it's twofold. One, for me, loneliness is something that I'm not afraid to speak on because I deal with it a lot. I think I mastered the art of understanding that I could be on my own for the last 10, 12 years. In fact, actually, like, I'm at the point in my life where I don't have to rely on one person to make me happy anymore. Like, it's sad to say that, but it's true. Like, even when I was, like, living in my old place, like, it's like I was on my own. Like, I was there, but it wasn't what it was, you know? Like, dealing with depression, dealing with the rejection from last year. Like, loneliness is something that it's never not been part of my life, because, like, a lot of my main friends live out of state. Over the weekends, I'm just usually by myself. Really don't go to, like, a lot of clubs and stuff. And it's something that I lose sleep over with either, because I'm busy and I'm on my shit and I'm focusing on what I need to focus on. But are there days where I like to have somebody reach out to me and we can have a conversation on the phone or Skype or something like that? Sure. There's days where somebody would like to come by and hang out or shoot the shit or whatever. Sure. I deal with loneliness a lot. You know, it's all about how you go about addressing it and what you gain out of it. I think for me, with loneliness, I'll be honest with you guys, I was very, very lonely after that trip in Oviedo. And it took me a while to get out of that rut. And I just look at that situation, and it's just like, no matter what, I'm going to have myself at the end of the day, because I had me. And that's all I ever needed. Like, I mastered and got to the point in my life where I'm not dependent on somebody's validation or somebody's money or somebody's association with me. Like it's the reason why I had this apartment. This is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, I have me because I'm the only person that I can trust. And sometimes you get to that situation where a lot of bad things come your way that are out of your control. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to crumble under pressure? Are you going to have people feel sorry for you? Like, what are you going to do about it? So, like, for me, like, loneliness is something that I'm not shy away from speaking on because I always do feel lonely. But again, I never look for sympathy. I just try to enjoy my days, be in happy spirits, work on my craft, get better every week, and just really enjoy my time. Like, I'm in a really happy place in my life right now. And I only think, like, the sky's the limit, man. I think we're only going up from here. And, like, that's how I deal with, like, my mental health or depression and stuff like that. It's just, like, I have to remind myself that I have me. And as long as I have that's what keeps me going. Like, are there times where I feel like I lost myself? Sure. We all do for different reasons. But I think for me, when it comes to, like, loneliness or just any general stuff with depression, it never gets to the point where, like, it's dangerous. Like, I can never get back to that point again because, like, there's just no turning back from it. And whether I got rejected on, whether I got cheated on in the past, no matter what the situation is, I always got better from it. And that's what I take away from it. So that's how I deal with that. It's different for other people. I'm sure there's people that feel lonely in their houses. There's people that probably feel lonely in their relationships. There's probably people that feel lonely in their marriages. I just think we need to be more in tune with ourselves and what we want out of ourselves. So that's how I look at it. Great question. Excuse me, guys. Great questions this week. Just top-notch stuff. I really do appreciate it. You guys can always send me a question at Josh Lopez Media or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. And this is a good Q&A session this week. As when we come back from the next commercial break, I'll be making my scratch that. When we come back for the Hoots Podcast, we're going to get into everybody's favorite session of all professional wrestling. Everybody's favorite segment, known as What the Hell is Wrong with AEW, right here on the Hoots Podcast.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW? What the hell is wrong with AEW? All right. There was actually a lot of good things about the show this week, but that's not the point of this segment. So let's get into what the hell is wrong with this godforsaken company. We have a great match between Cody and Penta to start it off. I really love Penta. I think he's just got some Shinsuke Nakamura vibes to him as far as his presentation and his, the way that he gets in his opponent's heads. That's great. But it was a lame finish, just a simple roll-up. I would have loved to see a big finisher or something like that. But overall, not a bad match. It wasn't the worst thing on the show. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. AEW cannot help but take shots at WWE. That's all they do. That's all they do. They don't care about building their own brand. They just care about, appealing to the very, very, very small internet fan base that is the professional wrestling universe. And they did it again with the no leg slapping t-shirt. Like, really? This is what we're going to now? We're just going to continue to take shots at WWE for the hell of it? But this is what this company does. They don't have their own identity. All they can do is just rely on building upon, basically just trying to steal and overpay for talent and for people that come from other companies. They can't build their own stars. I want to give a shout out to Dave Letourneau on Twitter for @HawkheadDave for his comment that sums AEW up perfectly. So follow Dave @HawkheadDave. WWE lives rent-free in AEW's head and always will. That sums it up perfectly. WWE will always be in AEW's head. They will never get out of WWE's shadow. They won't, because all they do is poke at WWE and try to build off their success instead of creating their own. It's what AEW does. Why the hell does AEW feel the need to have a 10-man tag match every other week? It just seems like they're sloppy. They're hard to transcribe. I know Josh transcribes those matches and he hates doing it. They're sloppy. They don't work well. There's too much going on. It's hard to follow. And if you overdo it, it doesn't make any sense. It's clear that the creative team, shocking, doesn't have anything for any of these wrestlers to do. That's why they keep putting them in 10-man tag matches. I don't get it. AEW way overuses this concept. Also, Jungle Boy needs to be on his own. He's definitely the star of that group. Why are Moxley and Kingston together again? Weren't they just feuding not too long ago, and now all of a sudden they're together again? It makes no sense to me. Well, Christian Cage speaks for the first time, and it looks like another ex-WWE talent is going to jump to the head of the line when it comes to going for the AEW World title. They did it with Moxley. They did it with, I should just say, ex-indie talent, and again, not building their own stars, because they did it with Omega, Moxley, Jericho. Now they're doing it with Christian Cage. They're never going to build their own stars. But yet AEW is supposed to be the quote-unquote alternative. Figure that one out. I don't care about Kenny Omega or the Elite. Kenny Omega is the most overrated wrestler in the history of professional wrestling. Why the hell is Lance Archer randomly a heel again now? He just comes out and cuts a heel promo on Darby Allin after being a babyface like 3 weeks ago. It makes absolutely no sense to me at all. I mean, he works better as a heel, and I get that, but why would you just have him do that brief face turn and then do a heel turn? There's no continuity to his character. And then we have the entire situation with Lance Archer, Team Taz, Darby Allin, and Sting, which is very confusing. I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what the angle is, what the storyline is, what they're trying to get out of it. It makes no sense to me what they're trying to do with this. It's just there's too much convoluted booking in this storyline. There's too much. I can't tell what's going on. I can't tell who I'm supposed to care about and why I'm supposed to care about them. Miro continues to waste my time on television. I don't care about him. I see why WWE got rid of him. He's not entertaining. He has a good look, but he's not entertaining. He's mediocre at best in the ring, and I really don't care about him. And so we're going to get another tag match with him and Kip Sabian versus Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor, because why not? There's nothing else for them to do. I just don't care about Miro. I think he's completely overrated. And then we get to the main event. Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker in the unsanctioned Lights Out match. Now, I will say, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later in the show, I will say that they gave a great performance. And I love Britt Baker and I love Thunder Rosa. And you can't take away from the good things that they did. But you can. Because some of the stuff that they did was just completely unnecessary. In my opinion, the blood from Britt Baker was clearly fake. And that they wouldn't blade that badly, I wouldn't think. And then they had to go to the thumbtacks. Like, I'll never understand the thumbtacks anymore. They're dangerous. If you get them in the wrong places, they can really cause permanent damage. I will never understand the use of thumbtacks. So, great. I won't say great. Really good match from Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. They gave it their all, and the women got to main event the show, which is great. So I like all that. But the thumbtacks were unnecessary. The fake blood was really unnecessary. And AEW just continues to do things to try to make themselves cool or whatever, but it's clearly not working. Seriously, what the hell is wrong with AEW? This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
Thank you very much for a card for submission this week. As always, my man. Oh boy. What the hell is wrong with AEW this week? Well, always have wishful thinking that tape shows would be better than their live shows. I think it's a good guess that I would never like any live produced show by AEW. But the Dynamite episodes on the Dynamite episodes that are taped, sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not. This one was a mixed bag for me. There was stuff on the show that I did like. I really loved the Pinnacle promo. Getting to see the real MJF comeback was really cool to see. I liked the stuff with Cody Rhodes and Pentagon Jr., but again, like Brett Carr said, what the hell's up with this roll-up finish? Like, this goddamn Jeff Jarrett TNA-style bailout finish. So Cody can't take an L in this match if you mentioned his daughter, so we'll just do a roll-up. Yeah, a roll-up. Great. Everybody's hyping up this Baker and Thunder Rosa match, and rightfully so. The match was really good and really deserved to be in the main event time slot for AEW this week. And I'm really proud and happy for Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. I've seen Thunder Rosa get her start at Lucha Underground, so I've been very familiar with her work over the last 5 years or so, and she's just really clicking on all cylinders right now. She defeated Britt Baker in the Lights Out match. I put it on Twitter last night. I thought the ladies had a better match layout than the one that Moxley and Olivier did in Baltimore about a year or so ago, and I thought they had a better match in this one than Moxley and Olivier had at Revolution. So before people jump on my neck for what I'm about to say next, please understand that I really liked this match and I really enjoyed it. But one thing you're not going to hear for the Hoots podcast is a term called hyperbole. It's something that we're not going to engage on here when it comes to hyperbole. It's one thing to put something on a pedestal and say, oh, this is a great match, this is a great show, this is an awesome match, anything like that, right? And then there's another thing of calling it the greatest women's wrestling match of all time. Tweets of, this was the match of the year, this match was the greatest hardcore women's match of all time, this was this is that. And I'm reading this morning, I'm like, okay, all right, people are entitled to their opinions, but sometimes it just goes overboard. And then, I found it so funny that last night, people were so this elated over this match because I think some people, especially in the wrestling media, they needed this match as their let me up for the whole Sparkler event from Revolution. So we have Thunder Rosa in this awesome match with Britt Baker. Even though they didn't need all the weapons to have a great grudge match. But, okay, here's the hardcore weapons. Oh, CD14, we need to let me up as a follow-up through that shitty Revolution pay-per-view. So here we are, and now we got to put everything back over. Oh, AEW's back to being the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? They do no wrong. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Britt or Thunder. I thought both of them did a fantastic job. Again, I really enjoyed the match. But that match alone does not take away from the fact that everything that I've already said from AEW continues to remain to be the same. The sloppy 10-man tag team match with the Jungle Express and Bear Country, yet they're fighting with each other. By the way, I got a question for everybody. Are the Jurassic Express heels or baby faces? I don't include Marco Stunt in this conversation because Stunt growth is stunning growth, and I have him in a separate category as far as my feelings on him. But am I supposed to cheer or boo Jurassic Express? They come off as baby faces, and then other times they're tagging themselves in and just being passive aggressive and stuff like that. I don't get it. I really don't. Yeah, this is a sloppy, macho 10-man tag team match. Rick Knox is just a brutal ref. Same thing with Aubrey Edwards. She's not off the hook either. I will say that Jade Cargill has passed the waterfall test. Let's just throw that out there. I liked some aspects of the Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston match with the Good Brothers where they're cutting the ring in half and stuff like that. But I just thought the match overstood its welcome, and the stuff with Olivier and Pieface and Baldy Buck just does nothing for me. It's there. It's something that I'm not on the edge of my seat for. It's not something that I'm losing sleep over. Like, it's like, it is what it is. Like, sooner or later, it'll all get back together as a Bullet Club and yada, yada, yada. And Don Callis, the Invisible Hand, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I really don't care about the stuff with Olivier. He's the least intimidating top guy I've ever seen in my entire life. That's just my opinion. What else on the show this week? That was pretty much it for stuff that stood out. Again, like, if you guys ever heard MJF and Tully Blanchard's promo last night for the Pinnacle, I thought that was great. Some really, really good stuff. The last thing I wanted to mention here when it comes to what the hell is wrong with AEW this week is a controversial topic. So, over the weekend, I saw a lot of scuttlebutt about Miro and Kid Sabian penalty against Jim Cornette, over Jim Cornette indirectly calling Penelope Ford a slut. One thing that we do not condemn here, we don't acknowledge here on the Hoots podcast and stuff like that. Like, I've heard Jim say this in the past and stuff like that. I really try my best to stray away from those type of clips, from sharing them on the podcast, because, like, everybody knows that I am a big Jim Cornette fan, and I do admire the stuff that him and Brian Last do when it comes to their AEW reviews. And I really do enjoy them, and I think they're educational at the same time. That's why I share those as, like, the pregame show for this segment. But also, with that being said, I don't condone the stuff that he mentioned with the fried chicken when he had that comment with NWA Power last year. I did not think that was cool. Whether he admitted or not admitted to calling Penelope a slut on the show last week, I don't condone that either. That's not who I represent, and it's something that I take seriously. Penelope Ford is a great wrestler. She's a great talent. I think she's a great person. I think it's a shitty situation that could have been avoided, but you know, I haven't had a chance to listen to Cornette's response yet to Miro calling him out. But to Cornette's point, you know, it's one thing for Miro to throw shots at Cornette while he allowed Lana to basically be, I'm not going to say what he said, but it's like, you let your wife be basically like literally and figuratively like cheated on you with Bobby Lashley right in front of your face. Like, it's one thing to throw aspersions to Jim Cornette and stuff like that, but it's like, I don't know, it's just a shitty situation. I wanted to address it really quick because I know, like, oh, why are you still airing Cornette clips even though he said all this horrible stuff or whatever? It's like, I choose the clips that I think they're educational and they fit the segment of what the hell is wrong with AEW. No, I don't believe that Penelope Ford is a slut. No, I don't believe that whatsoever. I don't condone that comment, and I don't agree with that sentiment. She's very talented at what she does. I wish she got more spotlight on TV. I love to hear more of her promos. I get to see a lot of her matches on Dark, and I feel like she gets better as the weeks go by. And I think her being associated with Ty's New Rowan Font and Miro is bringing her down to a certain extent. So, like, I want to enjoy the stuff that's going on with Penelope Ford, but it's hard at the same time. She needs to get on her own. She's a star, and it's time for AEW to start putting a spotlight on her. So I wasn't sure what you guys were expecting from me when it comes to my stance on what happened there with Jim Cornette and all that stuff with Miro and Kid Sabian and stuff. But, like, I respect Penelope Ford. Just because I air clips of Jim Cornette doesn't mean I condone what he said on his show. I would never condemn something like that. Not condemn. I wouldn't condone something like that. I want to make that perfectly clear. So, yeah, folks, that is what the hell is wrong with AEW this week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. All right, folks, getting to the final segment here of the Hoots podcast this week. Gonna go over my predictions. Yes, for Fastlane this Sunday live on the WWE Network. I'll be transcribing that show on ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. Don't forget, coming up this weekend is also the finals of the the New Japan Cup. And also we got NWA's return to pay-per-view with Back for the Attack. So a lot of wrestling to document this weekend as always, and very excited for that. But we have Fastlane coming up on Sunday. Here are the matches currently announced for the show. We got Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton in the intergender match. I got Alexa Bliss beating Randy Orton. I got Drew McIntyre beating Sheamus. Big E retaining over Apollo Crews. I got Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler beating Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. And get some major tension, maybe a brawl after that with those two on Sunday. And then Roman Reigns against Daniel Bryan, the main event for the Universal Championship. Either Edge or Jey Uso will be the special guest enforcer pending the winner of their match tomorrow night on SmackDown. So definitely got the big dog winning this one here. Hopefully Seth Rollins comes out and costs Daniel Bryan the match, because the last thing I need at WrestleMania is a triple threat match with these guys. Like, I mentioned what I needed to say about Daniel Bryan last week. I'm not going to come on here and repeat myself. So I got Roman Reigns beating. But I just want to go over the card again really quick in case you guys didn't hear it. I have Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler retaining over Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. I got Roman retaining over Daniel Bryan. Big E retaining over Apollo Crews. Drew McIntyre over Sheamus, and Alexa Bliss with the return of the Fiend defeating Randy Orton. So, excited to see what goes down on Fastlane. I'm all signed up for Peacock, so I'm all ready to go with this transition and see where it goes. So, that's my thoughts on that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into, what was I going to say? Oh, got to get to our plugs. One, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me this week. This very special episode of the Who's Podcast. We're literally, this time next week, we'll be recording episode 250 of the Hoots Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media. I'm at Instagram at Joshie Lopez 94, at Josh Lopez Media. Also, if you want to check out my work, check out ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. And that's pretty much it. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I hope you guys enjoy Fastlane, the New Japan Cup, Back for a Tag. We'll recap all those shows next week. And starting next week, we'll be on the road to WrestleMania. So it's a lot of fun stuff to talk about right here on the Who's Podcast. Remember, folks, be the authentic product that is yourself. And remember, you are dictating the pace of your life, nobody else. Never lose sight of that. Trust me, guys. I love you guys. I appreciate all the support. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Be on the lookout for the catching up sessions with Sam and Patrick Fritz. I'm Joshie. This has been the Who's Podcast. Right now, we're going to send it off to Bert Carter from this week's edition of the Thoughts of Dericho. Yes, sir.
And now, the Thoughts of Dericho. Listen well, man. Welcome, one and all, to the segment that's on the fast lane to being the greatest segment, second greatest segment in all of podcasting history. It is the Thoughts of Dericho, featuring the one, the only, Brother Carter. And I'll give you one guess as to what the greatest segment in all of podcasting is. Hint, it's the same segment on this particular podcast, also hosted by yours truly, Brother Carter. Let's talk a little bit about SmackDown, a little bit about Raw, a little bit about AEW, and then I'll give my predictions for the 2021 Fastlane pay-per-view coming up this Sunday. It should be a really great show. I'm more and more intrigued by this Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns match coming up at Fastlane. Obviously, Roman Reigns is going to get the win, and we all know that. But now they're going to do a special enforcer, which leads me to believe we could get another Daniel Bryan, Jey Uso match at WrestleMania, which I think would be fine. I think they both deserve that opportunity. But I'm curious to see how this is going to go. I mean, obviously they all cut great promos as they continue to do, and we're going to get to see Edge on SmackDown compete next week. So I think that's going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be great. Cesaro and Murphy continue to bring the house down. I mean, just great stuff from two great adversaries, and Seth Rollins getting involved. I love all that stuff. I think that's great. Big E defeats Sami Zayn again. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens as Apollo Crews continues to build on his reputation and what's happening with him on SmackDown. I think all that's great. Overall, good show this week, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens this Sunday at Fastlane. Switching gears to Raw, and I was thinking about this. What a few weeks it's been for Bobby Lashley. Since the Elimination Chamber, he lost the U.S. title, won the WWE Championship, and is now getting to main event WrestleMania. I think that's absolutely terrific. He's been outstanding. And then we get to the worst storyline in WWE. And it's up there for one of the worst storylines in professional wrestling right now, which is the Braun Strowman-Shane McMahon storyline. I hate it. I hate everything about this. Strowman deserves better. I don't know why they've randomly put him in there with Shane McMahon. I am not interested, or I don't care about this feud at all. It makes no sense. Apparently Nickelodeon is sponsoring this week's episode of Raw because of the slime angle. So I just don't care about it at all. Bad Bunny retiring as the first undefeated 24/7 champion in history after giving up the title. What a week for him. Grammy Award winner, now undefeated 24/7 champion, and he's retired as that. It's a pretty good week to be a Bad Bunny. He actually throws a pretty nice punch, too. He could have a good match at WrestleMania along with Damian Priest, who I think he's on his way to becoming one of the best of all time. I think that's absolutely terrific. I really want to see Asuka versus Shayna Baszler for the Raw Women's Championship at Mania. No one has been able to take it to Shayna like that in quite some time, so I think that's going to be great. And Drew McIntyre is right. In WWE, you don't guarantee things. You guarantee them. So just keep that in mind. I want to talk about a few things that I really enjoyed about AEW this week. Really great opening match with Penta El Zero, Miro, and Cody. Penta's got some great showmanship. He reminds me a lot of Shinsuke Nakamura, so that's great. There's no doubt that, in my mind, that Jade Cargill is a great athlete. I just want to see a little bit more from her in singles action. Finally, we get to see the MJF that we wanted to see. I absolutely loved his promo on Dynamite this week. The scary thing about MJF is he's only 24 years old. And I made a bold prediction to Josh when we were texting about this. If he keeps this up and is only 24, MJF may go down as one of the greatest professional wrestling superstars of all time. He's that good. Great on the mic. So knows how to be just a perfect chicken heel. It's uncharacteristic for somebody as young as he is. So congratulations to MJF on that. Fan-freaking-tastic promo this week. I love him with Pinnacle, the new stable. I am 100% in on MJF. That is terrific. And a good match from Rey Fenix and Angelico as well. Penta El Zero Miro and Rey Fenix continue to be fantastic. I know they're doing separate programs right now, but they're both fantastic. And there was a lot of things about AEW that went well this week. And now I'd like to get into my predictions for Fastlane this weekend. Should be a really good show and some really good stuff here. I think that there's potential to have some really great matches. And I'm just going to talk about the matches. Let's see. I'm just going to talk about the matches that are currently being listed. There's 5 of them currently being listed right now. I'm sure they'll add more as they go forward. But right now we got 5 matches listed, and we'll kind of break things down, and we'll see what's going to be happening with all those and give my predictions. So we're starting off with a match that was made this week on Raw. You've got Randy Orton versus Alexa Bliss. And they said it's going to be a match. I can't imagine they're going to have an actual match. And I think this is not going to be much of a surprise. This is where we see at least the tease of the return of the Fiend, if not the Fiend showing back up. If he doesn't show up tonight, they'll tease him showing up on Raw on Monday. So either way, I think this is going to set up Randy Orton versus the Fiend at Mania, which I'm sure we all know is going to happen. But this should be great. Alexa Bliss continues to be one of my favorite parts of Raw. I would sell my soul to her in a heartbeat. She's just absolutely terrific, and I love what she's been doing with Randy Orton. So all that's going to be great. I'm not sure how this is going to play out, but I have no doubt that the Fiend will be involved. Drew McIntyre is going to take on Sheamus one more time. It's going to be a war, and it's going to be awesome. Whenever these two are together, it's just complete gold. They've given incredible matches on Raw recently. I cannot wait to see what happens with them. They're just let them go for 30 minutes and just beat the hell out of each other. It's going to be fantastic. I'm going to take Drew McIntyre to get the win here, and then he'll move on to his match with Lashley. Though I could also see Sheamus winning and perhaps getting involved in the triple threat match with a triple threat match at Mania. I hope that doesn't happen. I just want to see Drew versus Lashley one-on-one at Mania. But I'm going to take Drew McIntyre to get the win here. But this could be a really great match, and I'm looking forward to it. The Intercontinental Champion is going to be on the line as Big E defends against Apollo Crews. I'm going to take Big E to retain here. He's had great momentum with this championship, and I think they're going to try to build him up for a potential Universal Championship, at least be in the Universal Championship picture at some point in 2021. I love Big E. I love everything he's doing. I've always been a big E fan, a big E fan. And I'm taking him to retain to keep this Intercontinental Championship run going for a little while. We saw this on Raw. It hasn't been announced yet, but I have a feeling that Mustafa Ali and Riddle will go at it one more time at Fastlane. And if that's the case, I'll take Riddle to retain. Maybe Retribution finally turns on Mustafa Ali because I think that needs to happen. And each of them needs to go off and do their own thing. I mean, I want to see them as Dominik Dijakovic and Dio Madden and Mia Yim and just take the masks off and do that thing. But we'll see what happens. I won't be surprised if we get that match one more time at Fastlane. The Women's Tag Team Championships are on the line as Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax defend against Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Obviously, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair will be competing against each other at WrestleMania for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Much as I hate to say this, I think the Women's Tag Team Champions retain. I want them to be over this, and I want them to move along and go back to being single stars, especially if we're going to get Shayna and Asuka at Mania, if Asuka can go. I know there's been reports out there that she's struggled with some health issues, but I hope we get to see, well, if not the Queen versus Asuka, then certainly Shayna versus Asuka at Mania I think would be great. But I'm going to take the champs to retain here. I kind of like this Nia Jax Reginald pairing. I think it's kind of interesting. We'll see what happens when they all intertwine again at Fastlane, but I think it could be a good match, but I'm going to take the champs to retain. And then finally, Roman Reigns against Daniel Bryan. Roman Reigns defending the Universal Championship against Daniel Bryan. Of course, got to say Reigns retains here. I think this will set up Daniel Bryan versus Jey Uso at WrestleMania, which is fine. I think Jey Uso's been fantastic in the latter part of 2020 and getting into 2021. So I think we'll see more of that, but I definitely think that Roman Reigns retains here in what could be an absolute classic, as the two of them always do. And those are my predictions for Fastlane, and that wraps up the thoughts of Dericho for this week. My final thought of the week is it's been a very interesting NFL offseason so far, and I have a feeling that we are just getting started. Also, shout out to Drew Brees on a wonderful career. Sad to see him go, but what he's done for the city of New Orleans has been nothing short of remarkable, and he will go down without a doubt as one of the greatest of all time. Though I have a feeling his bank account isn't going to be feeling too bad when he makes that $20 million a year working in the booth. Think about that.
This has been The Thoughts of Dericho. You're smarter now, man.